The late David Lynch is most well known as a film director, but he was also a visual artist, musician, and painter. He was a highly regarded filmmaker in Hollywood for over 40 years, but he only made 10 films. He was far more prolific in his short films and visual art, but his handful of films made a strong impression on American cinema, leading to his own unique cinema style known simply as Lynchian. His films played out like lucid dream, visceral and surreal, using sound and visuals to assault the brain in ways few filmmakers can. Bombastic, avant-garde, noir, undisciplined, absurd, cruel, unruly, enigmatic, playful, voyeuristic. These words have been used to describe David Lynch's films by critics and fans alike. Critics would argue that his work is lacking direction and discipline, missing meaning while pretending to be insightful, which leaves the audience lost and confused. Fans celebrate the fact that he uses absurdity and bewilderment to make the audience ponder the deeper meanings of life and human nature. These filmgoers overlook what I consider the most important point about David Lynch, that he's trying to invoke emotion in a visual medium, to spark creativity in his audience, or to troll them with uncomfortable feelings. I experienced this on my very first watch of a Lynch film. I was watching with a group of friends, and my best friend had suggested Eraserhead, as she had heard about it in her college class. I felt an immediate connection with the emotions David Lynch was trying to relay. Regret and blame from the characters finding themselves in a situation none of them wanted, feeling out of control of one's life, unhappiness leading to betrayal, fears of losing oneself in parenthood, being nothing better than dust from an eraser. After the credits rolled, we began to discuss. The majority of the group were showing signs of disgust and confusion. The images made them feel uncomfortable and uneasy. I knew then he was my favorite director. As I watched more of his films and shows, this was further confirmed. He was able to touch my emotion in a way that increased my creativity and held my attention more than any other. I'm very comfortable with dark themes and typically uncomfortable emotions, which may be why I can accept his work as it is. Various film critics agree with my assessment. Allison Johnson, who wrote for RobertEbert.com, stated in her article, David Lynch's The Straight Story and Playing Catch-Up, that she avoided Lynch's films for a long time because she knew they would affect her emotionally. She calls herself a sensitive type who feels that sometimes it's best to wait to watch a film until she's ready to grapple with the film and its tone. This makes sense to me, as I too am a sensitive type and will often hold on to images and situations in films for a long time, chewing on them, analyzing them. It almost correlates to how a person reacts to a traumatic event. She also states that one of her best discoveries while watching his films is his persistent testing of audiences' patience and the different methods that spring from it, basically pointing out his tendency to use loud music, elongated scenes in darkness, and weird imagery to test the audience. I would further say that he also creates characters that are personifications of various emotions or states of being. Many critics of David Lynch's film style seem to miss this emotional connection. In his blog post, David Lynch is a terrible director, Tim McDowell writes, "It's time someone takes a stand against the control David Lynch has been given." He also writes that people who enjoy the films are deluding themselves, trying to find something in Lynch's films that isn't there. Basically saying that fans of Lynch are seeing something that he feels is missing. When later in the post he admits that he used to be a fan of David Lynch, but now considers him a fraud or a charlatan who promises more than he can deliver, he seems personally offended by Lynch. His use of black and white thinking shows that he may not be able to see the complexities of Lynch's style. Another critic, blogger known as Slow Hand, wrote for Jury's Out blog on WordPress. In their post, The Case Against David Lynch, they insist that Lynch movies are marked by no endings, no climax. His movies are just dreams on a screen, and that dreams may have the right not to be understood, but artists have the duty to make sense of them. The author is clearly stating that they have specific rules for artistry. They also claim the particular issue that I raise with his movies is that Lynch, in an attempt to attain cinematic perfection, precludes the main or maybe the supplementary ingredient of cinema, the audience. Slowhand is corroborating with other critics that Lynch's films leave the audience behind, alluding that he is bombastic with no substance. Though I concede that Lynch's film style is likely influenced by his dreams, I still insist that his work is art. Perhaps just by getting the kind of reaction he gets from his critics is a perfect example of that. I would further point out that his absolute refusal to explain his art shows that he wanted his audience to come to their own conclusions. Was he sharing his visions with the world, or deliberately being provocative to elicit a negative response? This was the final mystery he left us, and I love him for it.
On Sundays, like millions of other people, I go to church. But my place of worship and reflection isn't filled with pews and prayer. It's full of shelves, lined with mystery, science fiction, and romance. I've been spending my Sunday mornings at bookstores for years, and today I've opted for one called Novel Notion. It's just outside the city, and it's about a third of the size of the behemoth bookstore downtown. It's still big enough to get a little lost in, and I like coming here. There's less people, less traffic. A chilly gust with swirling leaves chases me in the door. I clip a table with my right hip as I enter, sending a tower of mass-market paperbacks onto the carpet. I apologize to the few patrons who stare as I attempt to reconstruct the book towers. An old woman watches me under twisted brows as I sneak away into the fiction section. I start browsing the A authors. I read every last one of the staff recommendations written on bent pieces of cardstock. I take measured breaths as I skim the titles, taking in the familiar smell of ink married to paper. Sweat pools in various places on my body. I'm entirely overdressed for the weather. It's brisk outside, but I've layered enough beneath my parka to stop a bullet. After a half hour or so, I find myself at the end of the fiction section in an empty aisle. I'm about to pluck a book from its home when a bright voice rings out from my right.
I really like your jacket.
I spin to see a girl that has suddenly appeared. A floral scarf is tied around her pale throat. Single pearls dot her earlobes. A touch of acne that graces her cheek is conspicuously covered in makeup, mismatched to her fair skin. Her blonde hair is pulled tightly into a low side ponytail. A black rain jacket covers a blouse that matches her scarf. She can't be a day over 20, I think. Hands in her pockets, she smiles, waiting for me to accept her compliment. Oh, thanks. I smooth out the front of my coat, shoving my hands into my own pockets.
It looks, really warm.
She no doubt has noticed the beads of sweat currently trickling down the sides of my face. I dab at the sweat with my sleeve.
It looks really cozy. It's really cute.
Her eyes don't blink as she speaks.
It's perfect for the Pacific Northwest. Have you lived here long?
I've been here about 15 years now.
Wow, so you're practically a native. That's really cool. I moved here about 3 years ago. The gloominess was tough at first, but all the rain makes it so beautiful here. It's so green, and there are so many options for being outside.
As she starts listing the landscapes of the surrounding area, I realize this is not the first time she's made this speech. The pacing of her words is practiced, intentional. I imagine her standing in front of a mirror, tying a scarf around her neck, poking pearls into her ears as she stares into her own gaze, repeating the words, beach, desert, forest, mountains. I feel like I'm watching her audition tape to be the next face of a morning talk show. For whatever reason people feel the need to be polite, I decide to stay until the conversation has run its course. She asked me what I do for work, if I live close by. I give her a little about myself to satisfy her feigned curiosity without being too specific. I reluctantly lob a few questions at her. Do you live around here?
Not exactly. I work in the city, but I've got some great opportunities that bring me out this way. I've actually met some really amazing people since I've been here. Some people that are really helping me plan for the future.
She moves closer to me.
Would you be open to meeting my friends? I think they would really love you. I know we just met, but you seem like a really awesome person. What do you think?
She inhales like she's forgotten to take a breath. That's, very nice of you, but, I'm not really up for making new friends at the moment.
I know it sounds pretty out of left field. I just think they might be able to help you with your future. They've helped me a lot. I was really lost before I met them. Maybe you'd be open to hearing a little more about it before you decide it's not for you?
Her clenched jaw looks prepped to refuse no as an answer. I'm ready to give her an address for a junk email account I rarely use. I figure it might be, if nothing else, an amusing read, whatever it is they have to say about my future. I'd be glad to connect with you through email if you'd like to send me something.
A phone number would really be best.
Something flashes across her eyes. What is it? Fear? Anger? They look similar. I don't really give out my phone number, I'm sorry. Oh, here it is. I grab a random book off the shelf and waggle it at her. I should be going, I say with exactly nowhere to be.
No worries.
Her expression returns to the stoic bliss of an android. I tuck the book under my arm and thank her for the conversation. I turn away from her without saying goodbye and casually walk, though my legs burn to run. As I make my way to the exit, I see them. A half-dozen young women standing at posts in different sections of the store, each one a different shade of blonde. They're dressed a little too business casual for bookstore browsing on a Sunday afternoon. They're watching people who are alone. They watch them closely. I ditch the book on top of the display I mangled on the way in. No one has fixed it. My heart is in a vice, my stomach flipping like a trained circus dog as I near the front door. My fear begins to wane as I grip the handle and pull it inward. A girl glides in before I can leave.
I really like your jacket.
She beams. I dart around her. Just as I make it back to my car, I vomit on my shoes.